Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sloshing Jesus. I am your host, Linda May, and I'm so excited that you all have decided to join me for this first debut recording. With me today, I have one of my very dearest friends, Deya Masters. We've been friends probably, 25 years? We were co-workers, we're distant cousins through my husband. Deya is a wife of a combined 30 years to one man. They took a little stint off, or they took a break and they got back. Deya is a wife, or she's a wife. She's got two adult sons. She's got two school-aged little girls that are adorable, and four grandbabies. She's a business owner and a soon-to-be author. Deya, thank you so much. Welcome.
Hey, I'm just really excited that you asked me and to be your first guest. Wow.
Well,
It's only
you're
got
so much fun to talk to.
right? It's only got to get better from here.
I have to say, we were saying this right before we started, that this is very awkward, like to do this, because I'm not really like a show host, but I thought this would be such a great idea to encourage people to keep going in their faith. And Deya has so much to offer. She's so much fun to talk to, and she's been through a lot, and she's got a lot of wisdom to share. And I think that you'll really enjoy hearing some of what she has to say today.
Thank you, Linda. And let me just interview you for a moment, if you don't mind, break the ice
Lord.
a little bit.
Okay.
But how did you, like, seriously, how did you come up with the name Sloshing Jesus? That's really cool.
You know, I don't really know. I just remember I was doing hair one day, and I don't really know. I think maybe spilling some color around just kind of gave me, like you were talking about the other day, it gave me that idea of like, we need to be contagious. Like, how do you slosh Jesus onto your clients? Like, I can get color on them all day long, no problem. But how do I infect them to love Jesus more, to have a relationship with him, or even to think about, God and what part does he play in my life? So that's what I kind of came up with. And the sloshing thing, I never heard it before. So I thought, well, let's try this. And it just kind of stuck with me.
It's original. You're an original. And speaking of hair color, had it not been for you, I have to say, I don't know that I would have ever been a hair colorist, at least not a good one. And I also, I've always been very, very grateful to you for teaching me like the little tips and tricks of the trade, and people watch your life. So it doesn't go unnoticed all of those times that you were talking about God and Jesus and living a better life and being a better you. You were talking about that behind the chair to your clients, and I'm sure other clients were listening, but also, this stylist was listening. And I appreciate that. And I appreciate who you are in my life. And, I've bragged about you for many years, who you are as a person, as a stylist, as a friend, and I'm grateful to know you. And well,
I feel the same way. This is why you are the first one on this on my new little show. So tell my new little show. I don't know. I don't know that it's a show. I just want it to be a place where some people can come and find some friends, and can relate, because we're just, two people trying to walk it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And there could be other people, like I've heard people say before, like, oh, Deya, you've got it all together. Like, I don't know how you balance things. I don't either, and I'd like to be like very real and transparent and let people know that I don't have everything together, and I may never have it all together, but there's some things that help me and encourage me. And if I can, share something, a little tidbit that somebody can hang on to and carry with them and change their life, or at least their day, I want to do that. And so I'm very happy that you would ask to talk to me about some of the things that we've been through. And when I say we, I'm talking about Bob and I, first of all. So we were married for 18 years. We got married young. I was 18 and he was 20, and we had our 2 sons. And then in 2005, we opened the salon, and that was a miracle in itself. We didn't have any money, and my grandmother actually loaned me $10,000 and said, good luck. I hope you can open the salon and be successful at it. And I did it on truly $10,000 and a prayer. Okay. And many prayers along the way.
Mhm.
So as you know, 16 years later, that's been rather successful, but wow. Walking out a lot of trials in the face of being the business owner, and having to walk in there every day with a smile on my face when things were not peachy at home. That was so difficult. And in 2010, Bob and I actually went through a divorce, and divorce is never pretty, but this one, it was really not pretty. My family still loved him. We had 2 teenage sons, and I was trying to maintain the business and work behind the chair. So from 2010 to 2012, that was 2 of the hardest years that I've probably ever had in my life. Just a lot of adversity and a lot of criticism, not feeling like that I was very well, admired or looked at or anything like that, from other church friends. And I felt really like a failure, to be honest. And so anyway, through a lot of prayer and self or soul searching, I should say, and different people kind of encouraging me, Bob and I, our life was restored together, but from where we had also backslidden, each of us, and for those of you that believe in backsliding, I'm not saying that God left us, but we definitely left him, and where we had been really strong in our marriage was all the years that we were faithfully and actively going to church, seeking God, going on mission trips, which was a huge part of our lives. And then I'm not saying that the business caused us to fall away, but it got us distracted, and what we were doing was trying to build like a life here, and kind of like just leaving God, on the back burner. And well, it paid off in the wrong way, So anyway, with that said, when we rededicated our lives to God, it was like I was over here doing my thing and he was over here doing his thing. And God really, he found both of us, at a time where he could speak to us. And we reconnected, and we used to have what we would call porch time. And it's where when we would sit on our front porch, anything that we would say, it was like a freedom place, a place of freedom where we could talk about whatever we didn't like from the first marriage, anything that I wanted to share with him that had gone on, while we were apart. We promised to forgive each other for that. That's huge, because it's hard enough to forgive, yourself, let alone ask your husband or former husband that you're wanting to be a husband again, to remarry. And a lot of people probably couldn't do that, and it was very, very difficult for us, and the things that we had to share with each other. But God somehow allowed us to do that. He restored our lives together. We were officially remarried with a big, beautiful wedding, in 2012. And
I wish we
that
had
very
some pictures.
year. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said, I wish we had pictures because it was so beautiful. I was there. I was in it.
That's
Yeah.
right. You were
Yeah.
there. You were there. You were there. The entire staff was there. Do you remember that?
Mhm.
Like, that was fun. But also that year, as if just his goodness, to restore a family was not enough, he added like that extra favor, that extra blessing. And wow, I've got my tissue here just in case I start to cry, but wow. Sorry. Sorry.
Okay.
So, okay, after my second son was born, Bob and I both were so certain that we never wanted any more children, that, he had a vasectomy and I, had my tubes tied and we're not having any more kids. And joke was on me. So in 2012, a little baby was born and I knew the family. And they had some issues, where they could not take this little girl, keep this little girl. And they literally gave her to me. And to make a very long story short, you were there during all that time also, it's the facts. Like, I was not looking for a baby whatsoever.
But I remember
I had a couple other salons. Yeah.
I remember the story of you sitting in the salon and she grabbed your hand. She grabbed your finger with her little hand. And you're like, I'm never letting this little hand go. It was so cool.
I think even 10 years later, I'm still in shock, that not only do I have her, who is a beautiful 10-year-old little amazing girl, but 15 months later, her baby sister is born and we adopted her as well. And so now that's my two little home changers. So I have my two sons, again, and I want to circle back around to that. Our divorce and our remarriage did not just affect us, Bob and I.
Right.
We had to talk with the boys too. And that was major, asking them to forgive us. And, that we wanted to live a good and godly life that we had preached to them. We wanted to live that in front of them. And of course, they say, because we're their mom and dad, they accept it. But some of their actions over the years would show that, it was still hard for them. It was very difficult. And we don't take that lightly. And now they're both married, healthily married. And, I've got the 4 grandbabies, 3 from my oldest son and 1 from my other son. And I hope the best for their life, and I pray over their marriage. And the same with the girls, whoever God's planning for them, I'm praying for them. And divorce it's big in America. So it's, people think, oh, that's not a big deal. No, the divorce really wasn't as big of a deal to me as the restoration. And God's so good. He's so good. And 10 years later, to make the combined almost 30 years.
Right.
It's awesome. Here we are, we're on a little excursion, an adventure in our RV, and we're traveling with the girls because they're homeschooled right now. And we argue and things like that, but it's nothing like the first 18 years. And it's because no matter what we do wrong, we absolutely take it back to God. And even this round, we're not perfect. We're married. Okay, we're not perfect. So
That is such a good testimony. Oh my gosh, I love it. I think maybe so where are you now? What are you doing now? Like, you're on an excursion with your girls and you still have your shop. What do you I guess maybe I had a few questions to ask you. What surprised you about God maybe in the middle of the whole thing? Or
The
maybe your
most
whole day?
surprising part, yeah, the most surprising part for me was that no matter how big of a mess that Bob and I made of things, God restored it. And I know the phrase beauty from ashes is so used and overused, but our life is truly that testimony, beauty from ashes. There was nothing that we could have done on our own, like without re-involving God in the situation, that could have repaired the mess that we made of things. That was the most amazing part of that. And then to have like the little, the bonus daughters added into all of that, it's beautiful. The entire story is beautiful. And people, again, remember I said people took sides, I think that happens probably in all divorces, but if we lost, some friends here and there or whatever, were they ever really our friends? I don't know, but so it's also a surprise to me who God would remove from your life. But always keep you, always keep you in that safe place, in the palm of his hand.
How do you stay close to God, Deya? How do you nurture that?
Oh goodness. Well, especially like traveling a lot, because that's a passion of mine, in case you didn't know. We
Yeah.
love travel. We love to travel. We've been to all 50 states. We've been to I think now 16 countries. And
That's awesome.
so
I don't think I
when
knew
you
that.
travel, oh, you didn't know that?
Like 16
Yeah.
countries? I had no idea.
I love traveling and interior decorating, in case you didn't know that.
Oh, she's amazing. She needs to come to my house.
I don't know about amazing, but I'm kind of, I'm all over the place doing things. But so when we travel, first things first, as you would imagine, it's hard to stay. A lot of people get fed every week by being in the church house, in the building. But we listen online to, our pastor's sermon every Sunday. And that seems like an obvious thing to do, right? But I make it a goal to read so much, like encouraging things or devotions or biblical things every day. And for me, it's a must, because maybe everyone's not like this, but it's not like I feel like I'm lost or I'm sinning or anything like that. But that's the way that I get fed. I have to hear the word and be present and be writing and be focused on God every day. And I think that he wants that from us. But at the same time, we have to seek him. He's not just going to keep on knocking, and trying to get us to come to him. I think he wants us to want him and to want more of him. And so I have to be intentional about it. And I have to make that a priority. And it's not just, hey, we need to live good, or we need to be nice to this person, which my daughters are actually living out, their faith. And it's fun to watch them. They're 8 and 10 years old now. And it's really fun to watch them and how they pray and how they respond to situations. And I'm like, we're doing a good job, but anyway, they're the sweetest. They really are. But I think that if you are intentional, you get more out of it, because you're asking for it, and he's free, he gives it all to you, whatever you ask.
I think that's one of the most intentional things that I heard from a speaker one time, was to make an appointment. Try to make a set time that you're going to meet with God. So in the mornings is best for me, whatever that means. If I have to get up at 6:30 or whatever, I have to have some time to come and pray and get my medicine for the day. And that's, the scripture, the Lord's Prayer, give us this day our daily bread. He reminds me of the Israelites. He gave the manna every day and it dissolved every night. There was no leftovers. So he wants to feed us every single day. And
every morning. Yeah.
yeah.
That's
I
awesome.
saw on, trying to think the lady's book. She had written a chapter on the Lord's, where she had an experience, whether it was a dream or what it was, where the Lord took her to heaven and he took her into this room with this giant table and it was just full of food and fruit and all this stuff. And he had her sit down. And so he sat at the head of the table and she sat next to him, and like she picked out a pomegranate because that's one fruit that she knew that she could recognize. She said there was things there I'd never seen before. So I picked the pomegranate. Jesus picked soup, which I thought was hilarious. And she ate her pomegranate and she said he slurped his soup, which cracked me up. And then she said, "Why are we here?" And he said, "Let me show you something." And he pushed away from the table and they looked under the table. And there were all these people under the table that were skinny and they looked like, concentration camp victims. Like they were starving and they were just scrounging around looking for anything that was dropped. And he said, "This is my people. This is where I've invited them to come and dine with me at the table, but they're willing to just settle for scraps underneath the table." And
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
and look at what they look like. He said, "They're not fed, they're not healthy." He goes, "I want to give them all of this, but they choose to scramble under the table." And that just about broke my heart. And it kind of made me,
Yeah, we have
that
not because we ask not, right?
that picture in your head though, he was so good at doing parables, and it put a picture in my head that I don't know if I'll ever forget.
You're talking about eating, but do you have time for a quick story?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Okay, so right now we're in Central Florida because aside from traveling, we love Disney. And,
Mhm.
I forgot to go as a child. And I don't think that it's because we couldn't afford it or anything like that. I think, my parents it wasn't a thing. So they
Right.
didn't take me. But since I've been an adult, I've always, always, always loved Disney. And so having the little girls, like at least for the past 5 years, we've taken them and we've done the entire shebang, everything, the bippity boppity boutique, everything. And so literally yesterday, we were at this restaurant called Ohana, and it's in Disney's Polynesian Resort.
Mhm.
And they serve like a family style breakfast, so they're bringing out all these things. And I'm looking at my daughters who have their little Mickey ears on their head. And we've been there before. And this year we also have season passes, for Disney. So this has just been a big Disney year is what I'm trying to tell you. Well, I'm looking around at the place, it's packed out, and I'm thinking, wow, a lot of these people, they're so lucky, and this is their first time. So, Disney's very magical and it's fun. And it all of a sudden like dawned on me, like we're living the life of like Floridians, and being from cold, snow-covered Ohio right now, that feels pretty good, right?
Right.
So all of a sudden, I'm looking around at everybody and I'm just thinking about the blessing, okay? Not only of being at Disney, but like being able to afford it, because there once was a time, Bob and I, we were in our early days of marriage and we didn't like to ask our parents for anything. And, because we're like young and we're going to make it on our own. And we had to stand in a food pantry line. And I am so, so, so grateful for that time, because that's when I promised God that I would always try to pay things forward before pay it forward was a phrase,
Yeah.
I promised that I would always do missions work and things like that and give to people, because you don't know their situation, and you can judge all day long. You don't know their situation. But anyway, I'm sitting at Ohana and everything smells good and fresh and like pineapple and Hawaii itself. And I'm looking at my daughters who, they know they're adopted, but do they know like that God placed them in our lives, and do they know how spoiled they are? And do they know how blessed they are? And all of these. That wasn't planned. But anyway, I could not stop crying. And the waiter comes out, and I actually took the call again coming through.
Oh, okay.
I told him, I said, we had already been joking about their guava juice and, that I still had to have coffee before the guava juice and all this. And I said, I'm not crying because anything's wrong, here. I'm crying because I cannot believe the favor that God has poured on my life, so undeserving. And God has poured that out on my life. And I said, these tears are actually, tears of joy right now. And it's not the Disney magic. I said, it's all about God today. And my girls, they're almost used to that now, like I let that out, I'm free about it. If I really feel something, I don't hold back. I don't hide it anymore. And that could be a little bit of maturity, spiritual maturity. But I'm never going to fail to talk about God's goodness. And if people like me or if people don't, it's okay, because I've learned, like, all the years of trying to be a pleaser, whether standing behind the chair doing their hair and they leave you eventually, or trying to be a good boss, leader, or otherwise, and people still leave you, or sometimes even those good friendships that just dissolve over time. People are or can be a little bit wishy-washy, but God is faithful and he's never going to leave. And so I'm always going to talk about him, and I'm always going to promote him and how he's real and good in my life. So there you have it.
That is so good. And I love that. I love that because that's your identity now. I mean, over the years, we were talking about this earlier a little bit. Your identity is so important of who you are in God. Like you are so loved by him. He created you from the get-go, like your little girls. He knew from the moment before they were conceived ever that they would be yours. Yes.
Yep.
And so,
yep.
I mean, it's amazing. And so, but I feel like a lot of people don't know that. They don't know their identity. They don't know how much they're loved, and how that, the Lord, it says in the Bible that he wrote a book about each one of us, and our steps are ordered of him, before we were ever born. We just have to like choose it, like go out, figure it out. I'm like praying every day. I just ask the Lord, don't let me miss a page in my little book. I want to make sure I hit all the pages. And who knows what that is, but he knew before. He knew where we were going to go, and he knew what we were going to do. So he knows his faithfulness future. Yes, he knows and you said that earlier. What was the scripture? Jeremiah.
We need not get worked up because he knows, and he's not going to let us fail. Right.
No.
And so many times, like just in life, we try to plan out, like, I'm old school, so I don't put everything in my phone, like on Google and all that. I have like a calendar, and one of my best friends, I'm not going to say her name, but Heidi, one of my best friends, she loves to write lists and plan everything. And she's really good at that. And I'm not good at that. But what I do is put important, appointments and things like that on the calendar. And sometimes God will, change the course of the day and still plant you exactly where you're supposed to be. But so the scripture, I mean, I think everyone probably knows it, but the Jeremiah 29:11, it says, I know the plans that I have for you, plans for good and not for harm, plans for hope and a future. And we need to sometimes learn scripture and repeat it to ourselves for those negative 2 a.m. thoughts. Do you have those, by the way? because I'm not kidding. I wake up every night and no one needs to tell me anything negative about myself, because I tell myself every night, you know, in the middle of the night. And if I'm going to wake up with a negative thought, it's always middle of the night. And I have to spend more time like rebuking those negative thoughts than accepting them, or I would be a mess. You know, my entire life would be a wreck. And surely I'm not the only one out there that has those like feelings of guilt, feelings of insecurities, or
Inadequacy, just,
like a failure, you
Yeah.
know, at something. And so you have to be sure and not have that identity crisis. You have to say, like, I'm the son or daughter of the king, you know, and he didn't make a mistake. He didn't make a mistake. And I make them every day, like every single day. He didn't make a mistake when he created me. So, and as long as I'm still breathing, there must be a purpose. You know, there has to be something in my life. So I'm not going to give up.
No, you can't give up, because I want to hear the rest of your story. I want to watch I'm watching you on Facebook and different things and seeing how your kids are growing, and, you know, just
Thank
really.
you. I appreciate you, and you're an encouragement to me, and I'm sure to others, and your little big sloshing Jesus, it's going to go far. And, you know, anytime you want to talk more, I'm right here. No matter where I am in the 50 states, I'm only a phone call away.
That's awesome. So you can, we can give your email address, I suppose, if that's okay. So if anybody does want to get a hold of Deya, you can text her or talk to her or whatever at deyamasters@gmail.com, and we'll put that on the comments at the end. But I just want to thank you so much for coming and sharing your story. And it is so, it's a triumph story. It's a story of triumph, and I love that. And I think that a lot of people can relate to what you just said, to a lot of what you just said, because a lot of people, you know, whether they get a divorce or not, or even just, you know, raising kids, you know, I remember so many times thinking, am I doing this right? You know, but thankfully I have a journal that I wrote every day. God help me, God help me, God help me. That, you know, my little prayer journal.
Amazing. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I'm going to, I think we'll wrap it up here. I want everyone to know that we're going to do this every week. I'm sorry, I'm looking away, but I can't find I lost my note. Anyway, we're going to try to do this every week, and I'm going to have a different guest every week, and Dee is going to be back at some point, because she's got so many neat things. You're going to be writing a book, and so we want to hear how that's going. Yes. And that's how my Sloshing Jesus really started. I thought I would write a book to encourage stylists behind the chair. Remember, I called you, and we kind of, but I think a book, I still want to do the book, but I feel like a video is much quicker to kind of get the message out, because the whole point of this is to bring people on like Deya, to show you how God is working in their lives, and how they keep intimacy, how they are working it out, and how they're sharing their faith with other people. And I think just her telling, this is
people, you know, we're real life people.
yeah. And I think that's what is so important, that you can relate to us. So anyway, I hope that you will join me again. I hope to do this. I would like to do this once a week. And if you've gotten anything out of this, I hope that you will like and subscribe and share this video, and send us some feedback of what you would like to see, and what you would like to maybe even talk about, or things that are difficult for you, or what you, or fun things we like to like it to be fun. I think this was a great first video, and I really enjoyed having Deya here, and especially now with all this COVID and stuff, it's nice to hear, you know, that God is moving and he's doing some neat things. And so anyway, so thank you all very much for sharing your time with us, and we will look forward to seeing you next week.